Most hated episode based upon its looks, not writing? Do you mean like as in like the worst looking episode in terms of its production, Jess? Is that what you mean? Because if that's what you mean, I think I have an answer. What about New Who? Love and Monsters? No, but there's a difference between an episode not having big ambition and an episode looking bad. And I don't think Love and Monsters kind of falls in that category. Lazarus Experiment? Maybe, but even then, there are some good visuals in the Lazarus Experiment. I will actually kind of defend the Lazarus Experiment a little bit. Like, the way it moves and the way, whenever it stomps, it shakes the camera a little bit.
Action's too strong. Killing those people won't help you.
I think it's alright. You know, for 2007, this episode's really punching above its weight. Like, the revolving camera. Like, come on. Thank you for your in-depth, insightful docu-commentary. Well, thank you, Pa. Thank you. Look at it run. There we go. That's my insightful docu-commentary. They didn't have to add that flair, but they did. Daniel might be right. It could be Joy to the World. Because Joy to the World has some really, really good sets, but it's not directed particularly well. I mentioned in my reaction, people will probably years from now, when they're doing the marathons, they'll be like, oh yeah, this was filmed during COVID because the sets are so empty and there's so few extras. Almost people, no, but the set design and the location work is really good in the Almost People. The director of Joy to the World was Alex Sanjeev Pillai, who I think is also directing the finale. That might explain, because I was talking about Wish World. Since we're looking at iPlayer clips, rough CGI isn't enough reason to call it. Yeah, it will be a cumulative thing. It will be like poor direction, poor visuals, poor blocking. It will be multiple factors. But yeah, at the beginning of Wish World, when the Rani comes to take the Baba, she takes the baby. The dad is right there. The kids are there. The mother's in bed. And she does the whole thing, oh, I'm going to take the baby. He stood behind her for a good minute. His wife gets turned into violets and he's just stood behind her the whole time. The blocking's really poor. Like he doesn't do anything to stop her. He doesn't try to get his child back. He tells the kids to run away. Really flatly directed. He's just shocked and confused. I don't think this is a performance thing. This is just a lack of direction.
Boys, get out. All of you children, get out now. Run!
Yeah, I think this is a lack of direction. If I was doing it, you know, sorry to be that guy. If I was doing it, I would like have him in the bed, like not in the bed, but by the bed. His priority is looking after his wife and then she falls apart in his arms. So that the Rani's not directly in between them both, because the blocking doesn't work. The kids don't look panicked though. Child actors. There's only so much you can do. But yeah, the blocking's so poor. Same director as Joy to the World. Yeah. I don't think blocking's his strong suit. I think he's really good at like filming the location and the set. He did a great job in Joy to the World. He does a really good job at filming the Bone Palace and the homes and such. I think that's where his strength is. I think his strength is in the environment, not necessarily blocking the cast. Oh, there's this bit as well, when she's like, oh, I am the Rani. Like I said, this is the really awkward blocking. And then, oh, Anita Dobson, I'm also here.
And I am the Rani.
Why is that line said in an extreme wide? Why is she at the right of the... Why is it framed like this? This is what I was on about earlier with Utopia, and how these reveals and these moments are given such gravitas, and it's just not here. Yeah, that should be a medium or close. It should be, yeah. Like, I think that Alex is way more interested in depicting the size of the set than capturing the performances or getting, you know, a dramatically impactful angle. Bring back Joe Ahan. Well, he actually mentioned, he did an interview because he was at a screening of Father's Day and Dalek the other week for the show's 20th anniversary, and he said that he was kind of Doctor Who'd out because he was only meant to do 1 or 2 episodes that season and he ended up doing 5. He got a bit Doctor Who'd out, and I don't blame him. In the Dalek shot by shot, he was talking about how by the end of the series they were triple banking. This bit, I have a child at home.
The child at home. My name is Poppy.
And then it cuts to these flashbacks from this episode. Why do we need that? Might be a bit behind, but what is blocking? Blocking is basically where the characters are stood in the frame or where they're stood on set. Let me give you an example of brilliant blocking. And this is a very recent example in my mind because I talked about it the other week. This is a scene from The Unquiet Dead. They've just done the seance. Look at the blocking of this scene. You've got Gwyneth laid on the chair here in the foreground. Rose is centre. Then you've got Eccleston here on the left. Peeking through here is Mr. Sneed. And at the back here, leant over the mantelpiece, is Charles Dickens. Look at how dynamic that framing is. Like, it's organic in that, you know, it's a cozy room, so this is where they would maybe naturally be in the scene. But it's also, like, so much depth to the image. There's so much... Alyssa's there. A. Roslin directed this. A. Roslin also directed The End of the World this season. He will also go on to direct The End of Time. It doesn't feel show-offy, but it's so dynamic in the frame, because this is a bit of an awkward room to shoot in. If you look at, like, the dimensions of the room, like here, this little area here, and that's the mantelpiece. And then you've got like a table here. And this is where Gwyneth's laying. Yeah, that's basically where we're at with the characters. But then you've got Charles Dickens here. You've got Mr. Sneed here. You've got the Doctor here. You've got Rose here. You've got Gwyneth laid across here. It's such a cramped and awkward setting and location. But A. Roslin makes it come to life with this really intensive blocking. This is fascinating. Yeah, well, you know, this is the stuff that you don't really learn. You just sort of intuitively pick it up, like the more you do it. Whereas when you look at Wish World, we saw that clip when Anita Dobson announces herself as the Rani. What is that blocking? There is no blocking. Don't think much of this Dalek redesign. Yes, sorry, Clarence. In my reaction to Unquiet Dead, I noticed as well, there's a little bit of a question mark about the blocking of the seance. Why is the Doctor not sat next to Rose? Because the Doctor and Rose are best buddies. Why is that the case? But they need that to happen so that the Doctor is near Gwyneth, is opposite Charles Dickens, and there's also a moment when they mention the Time War and the Doctor glances across the table. This shot is the reason the Doctor and Rose are not sat next to each other at the table, so that you can get this shot of him looking across the table at Rose. That's why the scene's blocked this way. The blocking in Tooth and Claw is aces. Daniel, do you have a specific moment in mind? I can quickly bring it up if you have anything in mind in terms of blocking. The library scene with Queen Victoria, Sir Robert Rose and the Doctor. There we go. This is an example of blocking. Queen Victoria sat down here because she's the one who needs protecting. She's old, so she's maybe not as active. Yeah, while they're plotting, she's here in the background. She's still present in the room. She's still listening in, even if she's not active in this dialogue exchange. Blocking through camera work is also about reminding audiences of where people are. If they did this whole scene and Queen Victoria wasn't present in the shots, then it would be implied through the visual storytelling that Queen Victoria is not hearing any of this, but because she's here, we know she is. We know she's tuned in.
Down the generations, it survived through.
And then when she joins in the conversation later to present the diamond, she's...
Sir Robert.
There we go. That's an example of blocking. She announces herself, and then the camera pulls focus to her. Please do Amy's first time in the TARDIS. Do you mean in the 11th hour? I didn't mean for this live stream to become Let's Talk Doctor Who visual storytelling. Would love a Doctor Who blocking a visual storytelling live stream. We could maybe do a video on it. There we go. That's an example of blocking. The Doctor starts the shot obscured by Amy's head, and then he steps into frame. And then the next shot is this big wide of the TARDIS. So we're teased the reveal of the TARDIS interior. Amy sees it before the audience do, similar to Rose in 2005. And then, bam, here's the static shot.
Oh, don't worry.
And that's a push-pull focus as well, from the back of Amy's head to the TARDIS central console. Good Man Goes to War ending has great blocking. Oh, Good Man Goes to War is brilliantly directed. Here's, like, blocking as well. The Colonel Runaway bit, because he starts the scene sat down. This is Colonel Runaway in the foreground looking at the Doctor.
To withdraw.
No, Colonel Mann,
We've got great blocking. Winnie is caught on my shirt. We've got great blocking in that direction with the Doctor sat on the chair over Colonel Manton's shoulder. Then we do the reverse shot. Colonel Manton's here, Dorium's in the background, and Strax is here as well on the left. It's a crowded room, but it doesn't feel like a crowded frame. And then we've got this zoom in on the Doctor. The camera angle changes because it's more on Colonel Manton. Dorium is in the background just by virtue of the geography. Rest in peace, Simon Fisher-Becker.
Colonel, run away.
And then, here we go, he leaps out of the seat to close the distance. This is blocking. And rather than face on, naturally, what you do as an actor, as a person, I'm guessing, let's say this is the room, and the Doctor is sat here, Colonel Manton is here. If you were the Doctor, ideally you'd just close the gap and walk here. That's naturally what you'd do. But what he does instead, because of the blocking, he actually moves here so that Peter Hoare, the Chad that he is, can get a more dynamic camera sweep to go over his shoulder. Because naturally, if you were to have like just gone front on, where would you put the camera? Because otherwise you'd lose Matt Smith's performance. He has to go to the side in order to capture the performance. MS Paint, sorry. Geography's hard, man. You know, you don't notice these things until you're actually on the set. Because we've already established where Vastra is. Vastra was stood around here, because we saw earlier. It makes sense that when the camera is now placed here, it's looking between the two, and Vastra's in the shot, so that she can take that inhale of breath to remind the Doctor stop being such a dick. And also, the Doctor can then do this look over his shoulder.
The anger of a good man.
Because we hear her first. It's a bit of a harsh cut, but it's fine.
Have too many rules.
And then he does this turnaround. Another reason why you can't have just face him here, like he realistically would if he was actually a person and not a TV character. He has to stand here. We have established that the door is here, so Kovarian can be here and he can turn around. It's just blocking. I say just blocking. It's an art in and of itself. One thing that you do when you're on a TV set is that while lighting and set dressing and while everything's working as a director and as a first AD, which I've done, you step onto a set and then you do a read-through with the cast. Here's the script. Let's go through a read-through. Let's get the lines right. Let's make sure we've got the lines. And then once you've done that, you'll block the scene. You will essentially act it out like a stage play. You'll say you'll go here, once you read this line, you go here, you walk there, etc., etc. You come in from this way, then you walk this way, you block it. And then while you're blocking, the director will be like, where can I put the camera, what can I do, etc., etc. And then once you've done that, then you bring the lights in, and then you make TV magic. My favorite thing is learning all the silly terms for movement directions. Yeah, everything's a pan. Everything's a pan. Everything's a zoom. Can we check Wishworld, get better blocking examples? The character locations for Wishworld is more or less fine. It's just, well, with the exception of the opening. Yeah, let's go back to Wishworld. Like I said, the blocking for the opening scene in Bavaria is really weird because you have the Rani between the father and mother, and because the scene is blocked that way, the father just sort of stands around and there's no sense of a relationship between the father and the mother. If it was me, for example, I would have had the father bring in the Rani into the house, and then he immediately walks past her and goes to lay on the bed or be next to the bed where his wife is, and then you could even have a shot of her turning into violets and collapsing in his arms or something, for example. This is the weird blocking, and because you have that, it just means that the father doesn't have anything to do for a big chunk of time. He's a very passive character in the scene.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, there's just not a lot going on, unfortunately. Please analyze the Interstellar cliffhanger, so ugly and badly directed, especially. Yeah, there's really no comparison, is there? Interstellar Song Contest cliffhanger. Oh, actually, the best way to do this, the best way to showcase this is with the Giggle. Yeah, compare this by generation to the Giggle. You get these really strong shots from Chanyu Button, like this one, like going over. This isn't blocking, this is cinematography. It's multiple things, but in this case, this is camera movements. There's nothing like that in this scene. She's center frame, she splits, there's a shoulder over shoulder. There's just, there's not a lot going on. The sets are of a comparable size, but this one just feels a lot bigger. Maybe it's the lighting as well. And also because the framing's a lot more dynamic as well, because you have Donna Noble on this side, and then you have Bonnie Langford on the other side, Melanie Bush. To be fair, there is much more, but this is still like a set, but it's still a similar size. One of them's exterior, one of them's interior, so that might be a part of it.
We fight
generated.
Yeah, that's a weird cut. That's a really weird cut. We've by generated. She's looking camera right.
Generated.
She's already moving. Where she come from, you can see Anita Dobson looking right past her. Who was she talking to? Because if she was talking to Punjabi, she wouldn't be looking in this direction. Yeah, where's she been facing? So she said, we've by generated. She said we. So the dialogue implies that she's talking to her other version. And because of the shot before, of them having just separated, you can justify that she's talking to the guys. But I think the way she says we've by generated, so she's looking at Punjabi. That makes sense. She's looking at Punjabi. These two are reacting. Why did she walk? She's already moving when the cut starts. The cuts aren't working. The cuts aren't organically flowing into the other. The shots aren't leading into the other. It's just a really messy thing. When she says we've by generated, I think she's talking to herself. Like, oh, we've done this. She's including her in the dialogue.
Evidently.
Yeah, evidently. She's responding. So she isn't talking to these guys. These guys are just watching. They're not being engaged with.
Fortunately,
That shot leads into... That one's fine.
yes, our name is the Rani. Although she's become a Rani.
Hey, Winnie. Did you hear the Rani? And you wanted to take a look? Would you like to look at Directing 101? Mwah. It's going to be very hard to go through clips. It's definitely messy. It is messy. This blocking's fine because she's the dominant Rani. So then she steps forward towards the camera while Anita Dobson is slightly obscured in the background, slightly out of focus. And then they just walk off camera. Whereas you could have something like Utopia, you know, apples and oranges, I'll acknowledge. This isn't so much blocking, this is also cinematography. But look at this framing when the master... Of course, the music is great. Has stream frozen? Hopefully not. This shot as well. It's all or nothing now for this character in this decisive moment. Professor Yana's about to open the watch. It's him singularly focusing in now. This do or die moment for him as a person. And then comes into the frame. Opens. Light engulfs. You are not alone. And then this shot of him turn. It's a bit weird. This is actually weird blocking. Why is he was facing away from the TARDIS in the beginning of the last scene, but now he's facing it now. That's a bit weird, but everything else around it is so good, we kind of forget that. And it allows him to have this like glare towards the camera. If we're talking about directing Doctor Who, I watched Mark of the Rani. I think it's one of the best directed episodes of Doctor Who from the classic era. I sent you some screen grabs on DMs. Oh, am I able to predict one of the ones you sent? Classic Doctor Who, the blocking is essential because it's filmed akin to a stage play. Yeah, there's a really great shot of the Master. Yeah, as the gate closes, he comes into focus between the gate posts. Yes! Looks so good. Why did they reveal the Rani last week with some script adjustments? Could have been this. It was the MCU-ification of Doctor Who, unfortunately. It's the mid-credit scene. Yeah, it's a bit disheartening. 9 minutes in Under the Lake. What are we talking about? We are talking about Doctor Who blocking and direction. I don't know how we got to this, but we did, and I'm very happy because this is my hyperfixation.
From unit. Well, if that's what it says.
I'm Pritchard. This is Bennett.
O'Donnell.
Okay, yeah, that's an example of blocking. Rather than just panning the camera over to where O'Donnell is, O'Donnell comes into the frame.
O'Donnell. You're really a doctor. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, because of her enthusiasm, she actually steps forward for it. It's a nice little... It's where blocking and the camera angle informs the character. Chat, do you want to know a nice little example of blocking that I just remembered? It's from Dalek. We're going back to Joe Ahern. There's this really great shot. It's really efficient, and you don't even notice it when you're watching it. One thing about blocking is that you got to be as efficient as possible because you won't have a lot of time. So the Doctor starts this shot in the foreground, brooding, grumpy lad. Adam comes in through the lift in the background. Doctor turns, sees him walk in, well, hears him walk in, goes back to face him.
Quick on your feet, leaving Rose behind.
I'm not the one who sealed the vault.
Okay, so these two butt heads, blimey, you can smell the testosterone. The Dalek is heard on the comms. They turn to face it. From that angle then, the Doctor steps back into the foreground and the camera pulls in. That's such an efficient shot, because that could have been 5 shots in and of itself. That could have been 5 setups, and you don't have time to do 5 setups if you are trying to triple bank a TV production. It could have been establishing shot of the Doctor, establishing shot of Adam walking in. That's 2 shots, 2 setups. You could have had a shot of the Doctor walking towards Adam. They butt heads. That's a 3rd setup. Shot of Adam yelling back over the shoulder. That's a 4th setup. And then a 5th one of the Doctor walking towards the camera. That could have been 5 setups. 5 camera movements. 5 times you've got to relight, you've got to reorientate the camera, refocus, etc. But what they did it in 1 setup, 1 shot, with the clever blocking. Cinema. 1725 in School Reunion. Daisy Perez, let's go for it. 1725. Well, we'll get to it in a moment, but another cool example of blocking. This shot of K9. The frame has already been narrowed because of, presumably, the car boot. They've put the camera in the back of the car facing outwards. K9's in the foreground. Doctor, Sarah, Mickey and Rose from left to right. Really great blocking. And because the frame was already narrowed, it's already quite a very intimate setting. It's almost like you've got a 16:9 aspect ratio.
K9 Mark III to be precise.
And having the Doctor step in and then step out of frame to reveal the full K9 body. Yeah, it's just good blocking. You do also have other setups. You've got the Doctor and Sarah here on the left. You've got the Rose and Mickey here on the right. They probably had time to get a few more setups and a few more angles in, just to make the scene a bit more dynamic. Close-up of K9. What's the nasty lady done to you? So yeah, what did you say? Sorry, Daisy Perez. 1725.
I thought.
Yeah, okay. This is also presumably the director, because the 3rd AD is normally the one who handles the supporting artist, the background characters with no speaking lines. The director would probably have also stood in and been like, hey, can you do this? So the scene opens with the Doctor and Sarah and K9 basically being revealed behind the cafe worker. Just makes the scene feel a little bit more lived in, the world feel more lived in. Like they haven't just hijacked a cafe here.
What have you on?
So she steps out of the way, reveals these two in the shot.
Day. Is Christmas just gone?
And then it gets crash zoom, well not a crash zoom, but like punches right into a pretty big close-up for Elizabeth Sladen here.
Great big spaceship.
It just makes the scene feel alive. Some guy gets leaving the shot. Everyone's yeah, it makes it feel like a lived-in set. Oh, Daisy Perez, I like, oh, you're cooking with this one. Yeah, so then the reverse shot with K9 here, because the Doctor's working, so, his hands are busy during the scene. David Tennant takes up most of the frame. But in the background here, you've got Rose. Basically, symbolically, the current life that the Doctor has still present in the frame, while Elizabeth Sladen is on her own in the framing, because she's on her own. Thomas J. Newton, welcome to Miss TARDIS Doctor Who Film and Television School. Well, I love this stuff,
Jeez, up there.
Right on top of
I love the visual storytelling. It's, these are creative decisions. It's why I like to try and keep on emphasizing that these things aren't made from a naturally occurring force. They're not it's not an element. It's not Mavity. People make this. These are creative decisions. We're going to check on Wishworld again, but there's not much more to check. I think this is more interesting. Plus, I'm getting some examples in the chat. 1614 from Sleep No More, and then we also have 635 in the God Complex. Oh yeah, this is great, because you've got the verticality of the stairways.
Our way out.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, you've got the verticality. You've got the Doctor up here at the top of the stairs, in focus.
Okay.
Other characters in the background here.
Yeah. This is bad.
And then the camera pulls focus to them as the Doctor makes his way down.
Bad, but certainly
It's just making the frame more dynamic, even though it might not be a natural thing for the character to start the scene at the top of the stairs and then come down. It just makes the frame more dynamic. It's
3 buses, a long walk, and 8 quid in a taxi from...
And then the frame opens up more. You've got What's-His-Face down here as well. He wasn't in the frame before, because cameras aren't that magic. Yeah, looks really good. Why is this so satisfying? It's one of those things, you don't notice it if it's done well. It's why Wishworld and the Interstellar Song Contest stick out so much. When you notice good blocking, you shouldn't really notice it. This is a really beautiful frame. Not because there's this guy. But yeah, the puppet in the foreground way out of focus. The lamp in the middle of the table. The Doctor's arm from the other end of the table. This guy here.
Raw.
It's a really good frame. And even here as well, over the shoulder, these little puppets in the background. This light here adds a little bit more depth. Backlights the Doctor.
But now you're what? Cooked.
I love that little zoom as well. This one's a fucking painting. This frame's a painting. Everything from like the napkin on the table to the glass here, the doorways here, the puppets all facing in the same direction. Beautiful. When a professional does their job well, you don't notice how well they've done it. Yeah, it's an invisible art. To quote Red Letter Media, you may not have noticed it, but your brain did. Okay, so what's this Sleep No More one? This is quite a hard one as well for blocking, because it's meant to be a POV, isn't it? I forget exactly what happens in Sleep No More.
You can't fight them, Doctor.
Yeah, that seemed cool. Slight pan, go to the left. Reveals what's his face walking in. Yeah, and he's revealed once the camera pans around. The dust of the camera. Yeah. That's a good shot. 1516 and Girl in the Fireplace. Thank you to Elusively Inept for the 499 super chat. I just have to bring up the TARDIS transition in the Centaurites part 1 from Johanna retrospective. The TARDIS when they walk out of the TARDIS and it's the same set. Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it? We'll look at that in a second. Oh, that's good. That's very good. And also, yeah, the way it divides the Doctor and Rose visually. The central pillar here breaks up the frame. Not necessarily for any symbolic purpose, but it does break up the frame. And also, how gorgeous is the moment in Girl in the Fireplace when Reinette, in that really beautiful dress, walks through the curtain.
No, you can't go in there. The Doctor's got back.
And there's the spaceship next to it. And she looks so anachronistic in that setting. I love that shot. I'd say symbolic. This episode is a bit rough on there. Oh, yeah. It can be both. It can be both. 25:33 in Midnight. Yes. Here we go. And also, the important part with the blocking here in Midnight is that the Doctor has put himself between the passengers and the Midnight entity. It's important to place the camera there, but it's also important for the characters that the Doctor is using himself basically as a human shield. Yeah, so blocking is there also to inform character. Strangers in space. Yeah, this is so good. They step out of the TARDIS, and there's the spaceship. That's like the first time that happened in the show, to my recollection. They step out of one set into another.
Barbara, we have landed in something.
It's a spaceship.
And then it cuts to here. I actually do properly time it. I can't remember in the review I do for my retrospective. But yeah, there's a really long take. And then they step out into a new set. It's so good. Waters of Mars, Series 4. Textbook. Oh, but yeah, this frame's a painting as well. Beautiful. But yeah, the background, her transforming in the background.
Where does he live?
Yeah, she's out of focus. Something's gone weird. Yeah, it's really great. That shot, yeah, all the shots are dope. Graham Harper's cooking so good there. Love it so much. 49:44 in the End of Time Part 2. Oh, how did I know? I already knew that when you gave me the timestamp, I think. Yeah, the close-up. What I love about this as well is that when the camera puts focus onto the radiation chamber, the Doctor is already in the chamber. You can't see because my webcam's in the way. But yeah, he's already in the chamber. At the moment he heard the knocking, symbolically, he's already in there. A. Ross Lynn cooking again. This is the guy who directed The Unquiet Dead. The guy who, basically almost started this conversation. Snowmen 46. This is also good. Not only do you have the TARDIS backlighting in the background, Clara's in the foreground, Jenny's back here, Maid and the kids back there. The Doctor's in the centre of the frame. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. Oh yeah, someone brought up Wood Enough in Time. Oh, also, I'm going to bring up one as well.
You're the reason that they're coming. Put it down.
Yeah, okay, so the Doctor enters over his shoulder. Camera moves over his shoulder. Yeah, that's a nice one. Adds a bit of dynamism to the scene. Gives Capaldi something to do. Nice bit of movement. Why are there 6 from Forest of the Dead? Oh, yeah. I think I remember which bit you mean. For some reason, this came to mind for the Bells of St. John. This is nice. The music's nice as well. Brings the cake.
Cappuccinos over there, please.
Obviously, I don't know what the footage looks like. If I was the director, Obviously, they're much better at it than me. I would maybe hold on this shot longer.
2 more cappuccinos
I wouldn't cut here.
over there, please.
One moment, sir.
Yeah, cameras, yeah. I maybe wouldn't have cut as early.
Realise you haven't
But here, yeah, here we go. Camera moves around. Sparks happen.
the slightest chance of saving.
He walks into the frame for the reveal to chat with the guy again. That's good blocking. That's very good blocking. Series 7 looking like cinema, 100%. Oh, okay, I think I remember you mentioning this in the chat earlier.
You are the woman who loves the Doctor.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, yeah, this is good blocking. Capaldi in the background here out of focus while Alex Kingston's
I've never denied it.
in focus,
But you
talking
have
camera
certainly
right.
loved me back.
Yeah, that's really good. The scene of Ryan Green leaving Resolution. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Let's go to a Jodie Whittaker era. He is thinking about leaving. All the while, the exit's in the background. He's already kind of like checked out. The exit's in the background, lighting up like a beacon, taking him to his next destination. I really like that framing. Yeah, having the door in the background there is a really nice bit of visual storytelling. This is a really great direction. Last one. Forest of the Dead. I think Ross Lynn is Forest of the Dead, isn't it? 1049. Yeah, here we go. Yes! Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. These characters are all here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters here.
Stay back.
You might not clock it straight away, but there is a 6th person in the room. You could easily miss this on a first viewing.
Professor,
And the doctor's like, yeah, why are there 6? Why are there 6 people? Because you said there are 5 people are still alive in this room. And then they step away to reveal him there. That's really good blocking. This episode is full of them. Oh yeah, one of my favourite moments as well. Because once again, it's not so much blocking as it is camera movement. Because the 10th Doctor and River are basically fixed to these spots. So the camera does a lot of the heavy lifting and a lot of the moving.
time to come to the library.
But one of my favourite shots, the screwdriver and the diary in the centre of the room.
There's nothing.
Look at that. The Doctor is so close to reaching it, but not really. It's just the shadow. The shadow unable to reach the screwdrivers and the diary. He's so out of reach from the knowledge of who River Song is. Oh, it's such a beautiful frame. Ernie Vince really cooking with this one. Rest in peace, Ernie Vince. That was a really fun segment, chat. That was really fun. Thank you for indulging my hyperfixation on that one. Please, let's do this again. Maybe we should, yeah, because Doctor Who's been going on for so long in its current form, and has had so many brilliant and talented people working on it, that it is basically a film school, if you let it be. What's the best looking episode? Dalek, Heaven Sent, War of the Sontarans is brilliant. Oh, one of my favourite moments in War of the Sontarans is not necessarily blocking. It's the bit when the Doctor, trying to find the door of the TARDIS, she runs all the way around. Oh, wait, where's the door? And it's just gone. That's brilliant. That's really good. It was really neat to see other people's examples that I hadn't thought about before. Yeah, well, it's about efficiency, because when you are making Doctor Who, you're not making a film. You only have so many days to shoot. You only have so much time on location. It's just being efficient, but also being visually dynamic. You know, not necessarily where the characters would move. It would be what makes for the best shot. Future-proofing for the next one, like we saw for Good Man Goes to War. Like when the Doctor goes to Colonel Manton, he doesn't face him straight on. He goes to the side, so that the rest of the scene, Vastra's location between them in the shot, Kavarium joining them later on and him turning around. It's future-proofing.